Today we're going to discuss chicken soup and how it boosts your immunity. We're not going to discuss all of the details, but what I do want to do is go over some of the ingredients that you're going to need. You'll see that the list looks rather long, but it's not. It's just giving you all the things that you generally have in your kitchen. And like when they say you try to take things and throw it all into the soup, that's kind of what we're going to do here, but these things are going to boost your immune system. So I want you to take a careful look at what we have. We have cumin, Italian seasoning, minced garlic, onion. We also have black pepper. We have granulated garlic as well. So we have minced garlic and granulated garlic. We have poultry seasoning. That's because we're using a poultry or a chicken. We have an orange or tangelo, whichever one you'd have, cilantro, fresh spinach, red bell pepper, broccoli slaw, and if you don't have broccoli slaw, one of the things you can do is just take the stems of the broccoli and then just slice them up. That's really what it is. We also have oyster mushrooms. If you don't have oyster mushrooms, you can substitute another type of mushroom. We also have baby bella, which is really portobello mushrooms, but the little ones, those are the baby ones. We have dinosaur kale, which is the one I chose to use. If you want to use the crinkly one, you can. I choose the flavor of the dinosaur kale. I just like that flavor better. I also have celery and carrots. And then, of course, we have the almighty chicken. And here's what the ingredients that I've stacked up for you will look like. And when we get started with the video, I will be able to show you each separate one so you'll know exactly which ones I chose to use. And if for some reason you need to switch something or swap something out, you're more than welcome to do that. And now I want to welcome you to my kitchen. And so let's get started. Hi, my name is Charmaine Vega, and I want to welcome you into my kitchen for today's presentation. And I'm also known as Mama Vega. Today what I'm going to show you is how to make a chicken soup from scratch. You're not going to have a chicken broth, you're not going to have anything like that. We're going to start with water, vegetables, seasonings, and of course the chicken. First thing I want to do is show you some of the spices that I'm going to use. I have about a half teaspoon of cumin. I have about a tablespoon of cracked black pepper. I also have Italian seasoning, granulated garlic. I have minced garlic. I also have poultry seasoning, and this is approximately probably maybe 3-4 tablespoons. I may not use all of it, but it's so that I have enough. This is 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. You can see where that's minced. I have 1 whole onion that has now been cut into crescent shapes in like strips. I have another whole onion that has been cut into chunks. I have an avocado. I have Celtic sea salt. I have a tangelo, that's a whole one that hasn't been cut yet. I also have a tangelo that has been cut. It's been cut into strips. I have a bunch of cilantro that's here. Then I have, over here I have some spinach. I have a red bell pepper. I have like a broccoli slaw where this has been stripped. I have, this is one of the mushrooms I have. It's not a beautiful mushroom. This is an oyster mushroom that I have here. I have baby bellas. I have the, like they call it like a dragon kale because of the skin, the way the leaves look. It's not the crinkly, kale. It's more a little bit smooth, but then it's bumpy. I have carrots, and these are all the different ones. These are organic carrots, and you can see all the different colors. This one is very pretty when it's cut. You'll see that when I cut it open. I have green onion, celery, and I do believe that's probably all I have right now that I can think of. That would be in the vegetable thing. And then I also have 1 chicken. So the first thing we will end up doing, you can see I have some of these cut, but I don't have them all cut up. First thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take the chicken, and I'm going to put it in the sink. and then we're going to end up cleaning that so that now we'll be able to see what all is in it and sterilize it, and then we'll be able to use some of these ingredients when we put it in a roasting pan, and we'll put it in the oven, and then while it's in the oven cooking, we'll end up coming back and prepping all the vegetables so that we can put the vegetables in the pot to start simmering and marinating together so that they can cook together before we add the chicken to it. Okay, the chicken is down here. I have some onions that are in this pan, and I'm going to take the vinegar and I'm going to pour the vinegar all over it. I've already rinsed it, but now I'm going to pour vinegar on it because I want the vinegar to clean any imperfections that might have been on the skin or anywhere else. So I've done the vinegar. I've put some onions in the bottom, which is what I'm doing here. And now, so that you're going to be able to see what I'm doing, I'm going to take the pan and put it down here, and then I'm going to take the chicken and I'm going to put it down in the roasting pan, and then I'm going to start putting all of the dressings and stuff that I want. So I have a handful of some of the celery, and I'm going to stuff the inside with some celery. I'm going to take the chunks of onion that I had, and I'm going to stuff some chunks in there. And then this tangelo that I had, that was the whole one, I'm going to take that one and cut the end off, and then I'm going to cut it into fourths. And I'm putting this, I'm stuffing it with that. It's going to give it some flavor, but then in addition to giving it the flavor, it's going to add moisture so that it doesn't dry out. And then I'm going to put some more onion in. So I'm stuffing it with more onion. So I did some onion, and then I did that. Okay. That's going to be the inside. And then for the outside, I start with the bottom of it. And then I'm going to sprinkle, this is my Italian seasoning. And because it's on the bottom, I'm doing it so that I have excess because it sits down in the water. And then I'm going to take some of the garlic, and I'm going to put that on the bottom there. I have a little bit of granulated garlic. I'm going to sprinkle that on. And then I have a little bit of the Italian seasoning. I'm going to sprinkle that. So that's the bottom side. That's what's going to be down in the water. Okay. And I'm going to take a little bit of this, put that in the inside as well, so we have some down on the inside. That's the Italian seasoning. And then I'm going to take some of this one, whoops, and I'm going to sprinkle down in there. I'm going to sprinkle some of, this was the poultry seasoning that I make with my own mixture here, and I'm stuffing that all down in there. I can get a little bit more onion down in there. So again, you can see all the flavoring that's going down in there. And then I'll take some more of the poultry seasoning, and I'm going to sprinkle that all over the top. Generously do this. You don't want to skimp on it. You're going to make it as generous as possible. And it's on all sides. Okay, and then I'll put some more of the garlic on it. Okay, and then this is where the slices come in. I'm going to take a slice and put on the leg. Each one of the legs will get a slice. I'm going to put some over here. Again, this is keeping the moisture in so that it doesn't dry out. And you know, the breast usually dries out, so this way the breast doesn't dry out. It's going to be nice and moist when it's all done. And then I'll take some more of the onion, and I'm going to put that on top of it. And you can see how that is. And then I'll sprinkle a little bit of the black pepper on it. I hold it up kind of high so I don't get too much, and it'll fall wherever it's going to fall. And then that's all we need to do with that. So I'm going to rinse my hands a little bit so that I can show you what that looks like. So now this is the chicken, ready to go into the oven to be roasted. And when all this flavor gets in with it, it's going to be really good. I have extra celery right here, so I'll just drop that in. And now we're all ready to go into the oven. This is ready to go, and I'll put the lid on, and it'll be at 350 degrees in the oven, and then I'll prep all the other vegetables and get that ready to make my broth. And when this comes out, it'll be ready to go into the water. Okay, the last time we were here, I was able to show you all the vegetables that I had along with the chicken. We prepped the chicken, we put it in the oven at 350, and I let it bake for about an hour and a half. And now that's done. You can see that the chicken is over here, that's finished. And I've taken some of the broth that was in the chicken and I put it in the pan over here, because I'm going to use that to cook some of the vegetables here before I add them to the stock when we get ready to do the stock in there. I like to flavor all of my vegetables before I put them in with something else, so that now I'm layering my flavors rather than having one tone. Or you taste some food, sometimes you go, oh, this is bland. Mine will have notes like this where it will go up and down. So what I'm adding is I'm adding garlic. I have some poultry seasoning that we've already added to the chicken, but I'm going to add a little bit to the vegetables. I have Italian seasoning, and remember the Italian seasoning is rosemary, sage, parsley, thyme, and a little bit of savory with black pepper, a little bit of salt, Celtic sea salt. Here I have the stems that are some of the stems that have been removed from the kale. So this is the kale that we had, and these are the stems. And that's about one bunch of the dragon type kale. This is 2 stalks of celery. This would be the broccoli slaw. And then this right here would be the carrots. And these are all the different like rainbow carrots, and you see a regular orange carrot. This is the one that was purple, and I told you it was very pretty. It's purple on the outside, but more like a yellowish color on the inside. And then we also have the one that is yellow. So we have these carrots right here. So it adds nice little flavoring there. This is the mushroom, one of the mushrooms we had, and this is the other mushroom. So we have about a cup of each one of the mushrooms, okay? And then here's the spinach. And I've staggered it this way because this is how I'm going to add it. So the first thing I'm going to add is I'm going to add the garlic. Oh, and I forgot to say I also had some chopped onions, so I'm going to add some more onions. And if you notice, I have onions in here and garlic over here. I have onions here and I have garlic over here. That's because this is going to help your body digest the chicken, because that's the important thing, is to make sure that when we're doing this, we digest all of our food. And you'll see you have the rainbow here. So we're adding rainbows of color, and that's because everything has different minerals, nutrients, antioxidants to different degrees. And what we want to do is we want to make sure we have everything that's well-rounded. We're adding different minerals, different nutrients, different vitamins, everything, and it's combined where it's going to give us a nice robust flavor. So you can see it's, because I have it on high, it's starting to simmer over here. So you start with the things that take the longest amount of time in order for it to cook. So we're going to start with the garlic, which is going to season. I'm going to put the onions in. Okay, so I have the onions. I'm going to put the stems. So we have that that's being added. And then I'm going to add the celery. I'm going to add that just to start with. Okay, so I'm going to add those things in there just to start. And we're going to let this cook down. So I'm going to let this cook down. I'll end up putting a lid on that and letting that cook a little. Then the next thing I will add is going to be the broccoli slaw. And then after I add that, let that cook a little bit, I will add the kale, and then I'll stop, let all those things simmer and let all the flavors marinate in together. But before I do that, I'm going to add a little bit of the poultry seasoning and a little bit of the Italian seasoning. Now we'll mix that in. And again, we already have some there, but we're trying to mix it in with this because it didn't have any seasoning in it. These things don't have any seasoning. If I take these things and add it into this, it's not going to taste like it has any seasoning to it. So we want to make sure that what we do is we add seasoning to everything as we're going along. So these things now have been added. I will put a cover on there, let that simmer because it's going to take the longest. Again, I add this, then I wait, and then I'll add this, then I'll add these two, and then I will wait for the spinach. And when the spinach will be added is once I put the chicken over here in the stock pot. So I have a big stock pot here because this is a big chicken. I will take the oranges off, and I will put the chicken in there, and I will make a thicker gravy, and I'll show you how that would be. And it's going to be not really a gravy, more of a broth, but I will be using parts of the chicken, and I will be blending that. So once this is all done, I'll show you what that looks like, and then I'll show you how we're going to put it all together in the end. And the other thing we will add is we're going to add a little bit of avocado, and of course I will add the mamavega salsa at the very end, along with the spinach. Okay, one of the things I did is I put the pot down in the sink so that I'd be able to videotape it so you can see what it is I did. And what I did is I took all the chicken, and it's now been shredded. The bones are still in here, but I shredded some of it, left some of it in chunks because it still has to cook a little bit more. And I put enough water in the pot to cover the chicken. So I put enough in so that it's going to cover the chicken. And then I took the same seasonings that I have been using, and I seasoned the water, and then I tasted it to make sure that the water would now have the flavoring that I wanted. So I added the poultry seasoning, I added a little bit of salt, a little bit of garlic, or granulated garlic this time, because remember I had some granulated garlic that was in the very beginning. And then I just kept tasting it until I could see that now it had the flavor that I wanted. And what I did is I took the skin and I put the skin in my blender. And remember, inside the chicken we had, and in the broth we had onions, we had the orange, and we had a little bit of water. And so what I did is or broth, not the water, but the broth. And so what I did is when I took the chicken out, I ended up taking all the skin and I put it inside the blender with the onions. I didn't put the orange is in here, I just put that. And so you can see how that comes out nice and creamy, right? So now I add that. And remember, the skin had a lot of seasoning on it, so that's going to be what we have in there. So we've added that into the broth that we have. So now you see the way this looks. You can see that we're adding a lot of flavoring in, and this is going to be cooking down a little bit more. It's already been cooked because we did it rotisserie, and because it was a rotisserie, it's nice and juicy and you have the flavor. In addition to that, we've cooked our vegetables, and I've cooked the vegetables down, and that's what's in this pot here. I'm going to show you what all the vegetables look like. This right now would be all the different vegetables that you saw. So here's all the vegetables. We've added them in. We still have a little bit of broth here, and you can see there's broth down there. But here you can see all the vegetables have been cooked, and I told you the order in which you would cook them together. The mushrooms, everything. So everything's been added to this except, what did I tell you? The only thing I wasn't going to add. I didn't put spinach. There's no avocado in it, and there is no salsa yet. So these are the things that are going to be added right here. So this is being added. So the vegetables are going to be added at this point. Okay, I still haven't added the other things just yet. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to dump all of that in there. So all of that gets dumped in. And then we take the spatula, and then we're going to get the last little drippings out. And that gets added to the broth here. So now you see how our chicken soup is looking. And remember, everything has been flavored all along the way. This is how it looks. That's the way it looks right there, like that. And you see, isn't that beautiful? Nice and beautiful. So now we'll cook this a little bit more so that this will marinate with the chicken, because remember, it hasn't had an opportunity to be with the chicken itself, but it has been in chicken broth. So remember, the vegetables were actually cooked in the chicken broth, so it has some of the flavoring with it, but this also contains some of the bones, and bones have flavor too. So the bones have been left in here, the big bones and the breast and all of that comes from that. That's still down in here, but everything has been flavored up to this point. Everything has been seasoned, and the only thing that's not added would be the bell pepper, the green onion, avocado, and spinach, and that will be added shortly. Okay, I've added the spinach to the pot, and now I'm going to end up adding the pico de gallo. This is Mama Vega's pico de gallo salsa, and this is now going to be added, and I'm going to do this, and that'll be topped on top of the soup itself. Okay, here's the final end product of the chicken soup. You can see all the ingredients. Like Mama Vega always says, now chew on this. Due to the fact that I have provided information that could potentially have health benefits as well as nutritional implications, I'm decided that I am including this disclaimer with all the information that I'm providing to you. And what I'm saying is the information contained in this presentation is meant to get you started connecting the dots. You can do more research on your own, just dig a little deeper and find out what works for you. That's what's important. It's what works for you as an individual. All information, content, and material of this presentation is for informational purposes only and are not intended to serve as a substitute for the consultation, diagnosis, and/or medical treatment of your qualified physician or healthcare provider. The information contained in this presentation is compiled from a variety of sources and is not considered complete. Therefore, it is not meant to be a scientific analysis in any way, shape, or form. Information is subject to change without notice, and we see that on a daily basis, that what happens today can change tomorrow, can change next week. So what I'm providing here is what I know at the time that I'm making this. If you have a medical emergency, call your doctor or 911 immediately. And I want to thank you for watching, and bon appetit. And like Mama Vega always says, now chew on this. I want to present you with this information as well. All of the information that was presented here, I have written, narrated, videotaped, edited, and everything else. All the pictures contained in here are royalty-free, including the video. The video is royalty-free, and it is owned by Charmaine Vega, doing business at Mama Vega Enterprises, and Mama Vega, as well as Now Chew on This, are both registered trademarks of Mama Vega Enterprises. Thank you very much. Enjoy.